Welcome in for a new episode of 704 Unfiltered. We got a special guest. So I just want to put this out there. We did this interview a couple of months ago, but still, nonetheless, a special guest. So a couple of months ago, first off his Grammy win, we got a chance to sit down with Kwame Ryan. We talked about a lot of different things over the course of this interview. We talked about Grammy night, how he was feeling Grammy night. We also talked about winning the Grammy for Best Opera Recording and also what it means to be a black conductor. We talked about early influences growing up and traveling throughout his vast career. And also, we talked about the city of Charlotte, what he enjoys about the city, what he loves about Charlotte. So do me one favor. Sit back, kick up your feet, enjoy this conversation, again, with Kwame Ryan. We have a special guest. I like when we have special guests. So we have a Grammy Award-winning conductor, currently in his second season as music director of the Charlotte Symphony Orchestra. His work has taken him all over the world, from Germany to France to London, all across the U.S. And at this year's Grammy Awards, his recording of Heggie, Intelligence for Houston Grand Opera was recognized as the best opera recording, winning him his first Grammy Award. Kwame Ryan is here on WCNC Plus. Thank you for joining us.
It's great to be with you. Thank you for having me.
This is a cliche question. When you hear Grammy Award winning, how does that make you feel?
That's never going to get old, I can tell you. I'm still in the phase where I wake up every morning and think, was that real? Am I really a Grammy-winning artist? And I'm really still enjoying that little change in my biography.
When you heard your name, and even when you got on stage, what was going through your mind?
The ceremony is a long one, and you watch a lot of categories be announced, winners going up there, and you understand a few things. One, you understand that every category has 5 nominees. 2, you understand that all those 5 nominees are working at the top of their game and are actually all very deserving. And those 2 things kind of manage your expectations as it comes up to your category. Even if you think you're aware that you're also deserving, but it really is anybody's to take at that moment. So yeah, the moment between and the Grammy goes to and then the actual announcement is this incredible stew of excitement and doubt and hope, and then just an adrenaline explosion when you realize that it's you. It's a real thing when you see people go up there to accept awards on an international stage like that, and they seem like their minds have been blown. There's a reason for that. Adrenaline is a very powerful thing when it overcomes you like that.
You mentioned this in your speech as a black conductor. Why? I know why that's important, but for our audience, why was that important for you to point out?
Well, as I said, on the stage, that's a pretty small demographic still, black symphonic and operatic conductors. Becoming less so. There are more of us now than there were a generation before, and there will be more of us a generation, after us. And I just understood at that moment that, when I was a teenager, I was so inspired by seeing, for example, the great African-American soprano Leontine Price sing with the New York Philharmonic with Zubin Mehta, who's an Indian conductor, and was the music director of the New York Philharmonic, accompanying her. And I looked at that, and my young brain took it for granted because I could see it, that was a possibility for me. Because it was tangible, I assumed that, I would be able to get there too. That's a naive assumption, of course, and there are all sorts of, challenges along the way of any high performance athlete or artist. but the self-belief and the belief in the possibility of a circumstance is incredibly powerful. And I wanted to make the point on that stage that any young aspiring black artists, classical artists in particular, that were watching should take inspiration and, get on that path.
You talked about those early influences. Like early in our lives, we are hit with a bunch of influences and we don't realize it until later. When did you come to that realization, like, these are my influences?
Yeah. Well, I decided really early on that I wanted to be a conductor. And I was like 7 years old. I was in Toronto with my family, and we got tickets to go and see Porgy and Bess. It's performed in the open air. At the end of that, I told my mom I wanted to be a conductor. And then miraculously enough, she took me seriously. And I guess my mom was my first role model because she was an actress. And I used to go and watch her rehearse. I'd sit in the darkened theater and just be in this land of make believe. And that's why I really gravitated towards the theater as a conductor, which is why I do opera. So it's like the mixture of music and theater. And then, along the way, as I say, Zubin Mehta was a huge role model of mine. Not just because he's a great conductor, but he's a great conductor of Indian origin. And I grew up in an environment in Trinidad and Tobago where half the population is Indian. So he looked like people that I would see around me in my everyday life. And again, taking that kind of assumption of possibility into your life and activities as a young person can be very, very powerful moving forward.
So Jake Hagee's Intelligence is set in the Civil War.
Yeah.
As you know, the plot is around two Civil War spies. It's very interesting. How did you get involved with the project?
Well, opera is a very complex, compound art form. There's this quote from Richard Wagner that refers to opera as the complete art form because it encompasses music and often dance and acting design, be it costume design, set design, lighting design. And so the planning begins long in advance. So I was actually invited to be part of that production over 2 years before we actually ended up in Houston, and that was now 3 years ago. And the process is very simple. Once they have determined, the producing company has determined that you're the guy, you get an offer. And you negotiate around that offer. And at that point, the piece hadn't even been completed. But I was so intrigued by this incredible story of this ring of spies, and the primary agent was a former slave, and that it was a true story as well. Not least of all about women working on a large scale in terms of the effects of what they're doing, but practically invisible to the people around them. I found all of that intriguing and also relevant, contemporary to the circumstances which we find ourselves today. Women still, have to really work to be seen in what they're doing. We're still working with the legacy of slavery, still, dealing with a country that's divided in many ways, United States though they might be. So I thought all of that was something I really wanted to be involved in. Really wanted to tell that story.
So you're entering your second season as music director of the Charlotte Symphony Orchestra. What has that experience been like?
It's been a dream come true. And I say that sounds hyperbolic. That sounds almost corny, but this orchestra is very, very special. Um, what attracted me was a combination of a really cool city. So I was already I was already being drawn in from the moment I landed here and walked around a little bit. And then I met the orchestra, which is so capable, so expert, but also so warm and friendly. And we just had great chemistry from the very first rehearsal. And I saw in the musicians, um, just fellow artists that I really respected, but also human beings that, I felt would be my friends, and they have become my friends. And so going to work with the Charlotte Symphony doesn't feel like work. It feels like going to spend time with your friends doing something that you absolutely love and can deliver together. And that's incredibly motivating and sort of magnetic for me personally.
I mean, you've been all around the world, and I've heard you speak so highly of Charlotte. What is your favorite thing about the area?
Well, I'm not really a big city boy, but I understand that, if you want to work with a world-class orchestra, you do need to be in a city. Charlotte has this vibe that is big city possibilities and resources, but a sort of a small town warmth. I really gravitate towards that. You walk along the streets and people will greet you. People will say, "How you doing?" and "Have a nice day." And I love that. You might not experience that in New York. I'll tell you, I've just spent 2 months in New York. And I just love that charm. I love the fact that there are so many great places to eat in Charlotte. You walk along the streets and the smells kind of draw you to a bakery here, an Indian restaurant there. I love that. And as I say, being able to get that small town feeling in a big city and then go outside the city limits and find green and find nature, which is very important to me. I live in South Germany on the edge of the Black Forest. So in Germany, I can go out of my apartment, I can be in the forest in 5 minutes. That's not exactly possible here in Charlotte, but it's close enough. I can ride out of town or drive out of town and find some really beautiful green areas to sort of replenish my energies without going too far. I love that.
You mentioned restaurants. Now I got to ask you, your favorite place to eat? I put you on the spot there, but favorite place to eat?
Oh my goodness, you have put me on the spot. I'm not.
No pressure.
Well, I'm going to be honest because the place that I really like going to is a complete guilty pleasure. I've been quite taken with Amelie's Bakery. And I love going there in the afternoon just to grab a pastry and a hot cup of something and sit out when it's not as cold as it is now, and sit out in front of the bakery and enjoy just watching Charlotte go by and just thinking about my day and the next day. So yeah, my kind of regular haunt here in Charlotte, unfortunately for my waistline, is Amelie's Bakery.
I think our newsroom agrees with you on that one. That was a good choice. I got to ask, you've been all over the world. What have you learned about yourself so far in your journey?
I think the most important thing that has changed for me in the last 5 years or so, and that was kind of about the beginning of where Charlotte came on the radar for me, just coming out of COVID. Like a lot of people, post-pandemic, having had the opportunity to put my life on a kind of pause, I came out of it just reevaluating what was important to me. Um, and what I found was that whereas sort of before the pandemic, I was on this kind of treadmill of sort of climbing my career, climbing the profession and doing hopefully the right things at the right time with the right institutions to get to the next level. After the pandemic, I was just so appreciative of just being able to do what I loved again. I mean, none of us knew what was going to happen post-pandemic, how long we would be offline, as it were, with our normal lives. And being able to come back to performing and having full audiences in front of me or behind me as a conductor, as it would happen, was just so wonderful. I decided to invest more in joy and enthusiasm than in calculation and career. And that has really paid dividends. I've had a much better time, and the quality of the work that I've been producing has kind of taken itself to the next level just because of the purer motivations for that work. I've had more energy because it comes from a deeper place. And so, yeah, I think that's the thing that I've learned more than anything, which is to do things for the right reasons, to find motivations that kind of refill your tanks even as you empty them automatically, is a great platform for doing better and better work.
You've been so generous with your time. I have two more questions before I let you go. I ask you what you've learned. What do you hope to discover and learn about yourself as your journey continues?
What do I hope to discover? Well, I'm an artist, so I'm always looking for more and more profound experiences of making music and sharing music. Um, One of the things that really attracted me to Charlotte was the opportunity to invest in a community and to put down roots. Conductors and artists, not unlike sportsmen, can be quite itinerant in their activities, meaning that they travel a lot and do a little bit here and a little bit there. And the opportunity to really put down roots can be transformative for any human. But when you have a platform like I do as an artist that gets to perform for audiences, for large groups of members of the community, that comes with some responsibility. And I'm hoping that with the Charlotte Symphony Orchestra, we'll be able to really bind the city of Charlotte behind us the way that, the Panthers do that and the Hornets do that. I feel like this symphony orchestra that Charlotte is so lucky to have has that kind of potential to bring people together behind it. So that's what my goals are for the next few years, to be a real Charlottean and invest in this city through the orchestra.
A question along the same lines. You have a Grammy. You've done so many things throughout your career. Is there a bucket list? Is there something else you want to check off that list that you have?
I'm going to be perfectly honest. No, not really. I actually feel right now like I'm living my best life. Um, and the ingredients of that are quite simple, and maybe that makes me a simple soul. I think I might be quite a simple soul. But when you're doing something you love with people that you love, and you feel comfortable, your life is settled and not anxiety ridden, as it can be for artists, for anybody doing anything high performance. When all those ingredients are in place, then by definition, you're living your best life. And I don't have any ambition to look too far beyond the horizon of this, investment in Charlotte. I'm super happy here and hoping to remain so for quite some time to come.
Kwame Ryan, living his best life. Thank you for taking time to do this interview. Grammy Award winning. Let me say that again. Grammy Award winning, Grammy Award winning conductor, music director of Charlotte Symphony Orchestra. Man, thank you for your time again. You do incredible work. Charlotte appreciates you, and again, I appreciate you for stopping here on WCNC Plus.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, so that was the full conversation there with Kwame Ryan there. Great conversation we had there. Again, fresh off the Grammy win. Make sure you stay with us here on WCNC Plus, and make sure you hang out with us each week here on WCNC Plus for 704 Unfiltered. We have amazing conversations with folks in our Black community here in the Charlotte area and across North Carolina that are doing incredible things. You don't want to miss the episodes every week. A new episode drops each week here on WCNC Plus. I'll see you next week.